You're listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. This is the podcast where I talk to successful women in entertainment and hear their stories. This episode is brought to you by the entertainment payroll company, Extreme Reach. They have beautiful software and services to support all areas of media and content creation, from tax incentive support to accounting software and payroll services. If you are making film and television, you should call them and tell them I sent you. They are committed to diversity and promoting women, and the fact that I'm telling you about them means that they have put their money where their mouth is. Let's reward them for that. Now for this episode, I sat down with Liz Gutierrez. Liz is a physical production executive currently working with Sidney Kimmel Entertainment. Prior to that, she was the VP of physical production at Alcon Entertainment and worked on Point Break and Blade Runner. She tells us her story starting in the makeup and camera departments before becoming an executive. And she also gives a plug for state schools. Going to a private film school is great, but it is not required. You can find us at theother50%.com for added features, photos, show notes, and the merchandise. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast places. Now, I've been plugging the Kiss My Age show, which is now 3 episodes in. It's the show where women of a certain vintage, grown-ups, talk about all the things that matter. And if you fall into that category, please join the Facebook group and join the conversation. All right, here's my conversation with Liz. Have a listen. What do you do?
I work in the film industry. I work in physical production. I was a VP and will hopefully be in my next job, physical production.
Now, that wasn't your first job.
No.
So how did you get into this business in the first place? Let's go way back, start at the very beginning.
Oh my God. I grew up here, Southern California, born in Ventura, and my parents moved out to Riverside, so suburbs of Los Angeles. And it was, just the suburbs of LA, which seems like it would still be really interesting, but was pretty boring. Same as living in the suburbs anywhere else.
Of any place.
Yeah, exactly.
Little boxes.
Little boxes. That's exactly what it was, yeah.
I kind of want to sing the song right now, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. We all watch Weeds.
Yeah, but little boxes. And I grew up in a place called Moreno Valley. Most of my growing up was there, and I'm the youngest of 4. My parents immigrated here. And I was actually the first to graduate high school from my family, just to give you an idea of...
Wow. Where did they immigrate from?
Mexico. Both of my parents are from Mexico. But they had been, now my mom's been here. My dad's passed away, but my mom's been here since she was 15, I think. So, more American than anybody else.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I grew up there, and I, never really knew what I wanted to do. I had lots of ideas, and my parents were never pushy. We grew up in a family that was like working class. Like they came here with no education and had, jobs that paid well for an 8th grade and a 5th grade education. And my mom,
what did they do?
Well, my dad was in construction, but it was union and pension, and it paid well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
a good job.
Changed oil and water on big tractors, basically, for companies that moved land, that laid out the land, like the Getty. He used to come home and tell stories about how he could see into the rich people's backyard, is how he would say it in Spanish, and see people sunbathing naked, things that are very, he wouldn't see that ever.
It was all very foreign.
Very foreign
to
him.
But he was working on the Getty.
Yeah, moving the dirt for it before they were getting it started, years ago. And he just, had a good paying job for many, many, many years. And hard work, labor. But,
for sure.
Yeah. But, my mom was just in and out of jobs, packing factories out in Oxnard and cleaning houses. And sometimes she was home full time, and sometimes she had to work because they needed more money. Yeah. So anyhow, so
dream.
I know, it is the American dream. And I just never really, they never even pushed college. Let me just start there. The only reason I went to college is because my oldest brother went to college. And he dropped out of high school, finished his degree, went to community college, then decided he wanted to go all the way, went to UCSB. And I went to visit him at UCSB when he was in a hunger strike. I know.
What?
Yeah, he was part of the Chicano Studies and MedChap program. And I went there. He was on a 10-day hunger strike. So I went with my family, my mom, to support him and his girlfriend at the time. And I think there was 10 kids or 12 kids that all did it, and it worked. They didn't drop the program. But I was like, hey, college,
College is cool.
Yeah, look at all these people.
So where'd you go?
I ended up going to community college for a year because I didn't know really what I wanted to do. And I just didn't, I took the SATs and didn't really do much with it. There was no counselor to guide my parents.
You didn't have a private college coach?
No, it's
Weird.
just, I know. Isn't that crazy? Now I talk to all my friends and it's like their kids are small or, in junior high and they're already thinking that far ahead.
It is madness.
It is madness. It really is madness. And sometimes I think like, yes, I want that for my child. And then I think, well, where's the room to just explore a little? Or
yeah, I'm resisting with all of my might.
Yeah, to what? To go down the path of...
To go down the path of madness. Like,
Yeah.
you have to play the game a bit because it's so costly not to have gone to college, right? But, like, going all in on the tutors and the coaches and the...
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It really is crazy.
But I started rebelling in preschool. I was not signing them up at birth and waiting outside. I wasn't doing any of that.
Well, it's sad that we have to do that. I mean,
It's
it's sad that
crazy.
to have your kids go to get a good, what we consider to be a good education, that you have to
You have to be an activist.
You have to find the fucking system. You have to work the system, I should say. You have
Yeah.
to be an activist. You have to, on top of everything else you're doing.
It's broken. It's all broken.
Yeah,
Add
is
it to
all
the
broken.
list.
It is. It's all broken. Anyway, so
back to you,
I
back
know.
to you.
I went to community college. I moved out with my boyfriend because I just didn't want to live at home. And I went out to Ventura and went to community college for a year and dicked around for a while, really. Took a bunch of theater classes because that's what I liked, and fun, and English classes, and I took a makeup class, actually. That was probably my first way into the film industry. Took a makeup class. I really like makeup, and I always have very makeup, nails, all that. I don't know. My mom, who knows what it is.
Your
And
nails are pretty cool. I was noticing them.
yeah, I just got them done yesterday at a new place. Thanks.
Yeah, they look good.
Thanks.
They're like iridescent in different colors depending on the angle.
Yeah. I have to say it was a new person, and it was less than what I expected. That's like first world problems, I know. But it's fine. It looks good. I'm ready. It's for the summer.
It doesn't. Okay, anyway, so you took a makeup class.
So I took a makeup class. I really liked it. And I took another one. I took 2 semesters worth. And at that point, I was working full time, going to community college, and I was like, I got to go back home because I was just, dropped a few classes, like stayed in the classes I liked. And I thought, well, this is going to take forever. It's going to...
I'm on the 8-year plan.
The shift happened. The real casualness it shifted. I don't know what it was. I don't know what set it off. I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to be like, in my mind when I'm 19, I'm like, I'm going to be 40 and not be... I was like, now I'm like, what's wrong with 40?
You're going to be 40 anyway.
Yeah, I know.
But you might as well have gotten your education.
I know. So I just got it together, I think, a little bit, and moved back home and went to community college at home, and then ended up finishing in like a year after that because I took like 18 units and all summer and all because I just wanted to get out.
You got real focused.
Yeah, I got real focused. But the makeup part of it, a friend who was getting headshots done said, can you do my makeup for me? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it for you. And then I had a couple more people ask me. Then someone was doing a photo shoot. Then I started to come out to Burbank to get makeup, like collect a kit. And that's what I did. And I did that for a while and I started getting paid. And then when I moved to Riverside, I don't know how I did it, but somehow somebody asked me to do makeup on a short. And mainly I was working with the main actor, who's this like really buff looking black man who's like very good looking. And all I did was oil him.
I was going to say, how much makeup did he need?
Not much. It was an action short. And there was like, I don't know where they got the money to do this, but they blew up a couple cars. And anyway, I did lots of oiling and it was all night shoots, and I was in school and it was like, what the fuck? But I was so excited.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, someone's paying me to do this? That's
a great job.
Such a kid. Like, who does that? And they did. They paid me. And they called me for a couple of other commercials, actually. I can't remember what I got paid on those jobs. Like, I literally cannot remember. They could have paid me $100 to be there for 20 hours. I don't know.
And it
I
would
would
have
have
been
taken
fine,
it.
probably.
It would have been. It was fine. That's exactly what I did. Did a couple commercials, and then that was just doing makeup. And then I don't know. Then I took a TV production class and got really interested in television. And the teacher said, "Hey, you're pretty good at this. So do you you should think about going to college for this, like university?" And I said, "Oh yeah, where?"
You're like, that's a thing?
Yeah, it's very strange. So I was really closed off to anything in the industry. I mean, I knew it was there, and I feel as though maybe that's kind of what I wanted to do, but I can't pinpoint I have friends
You didn't have a moment?
I have friends who say they've watched Star Wars. You know, like, I watched Star Wars and I knew I was going to make film. And I thought,
I hear a lot
wow,
of
that's
stories
like
like
you're
that.
4? Wow. I still don't know what's happening. And
Yeah.
they're just like really committed at that moment. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, how lucky for them.
No, and I think like, fuck, that's great.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I was never that. Like, I just never knew. It was so straight. It was, for a long time. Anyway,
But you found it.
I did find it. So I ended up applying to a couple different universities here in Southern California.
So did you go to film school?
I did. I went to film school at Cal State Northridge. Matadors. I went to film school there. I finished in just 2 years, I think, because I had already come in with a bunch of credits from community college. And it was great. Such a good experience there and a good film school until this day. I mean, the friends that I made there pretty much got me jobs they got me to where I am now. So
Great.
no, it was great. It was really a nice experience. And I applied everywhere. I applied USC and Chapman. I mean, all the film schools that put out all the I got accepted, but I just couldn't afford them. So I had to pick somewhere where my student loans were not going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars at the end of it, not knowing what I was going to make or, not really having an idea of what the value of it was. So I went to state school and it was great. And I recommend that. I can't say how...
And you still have the network.
I still have the network.
You don't need the USC Mafia.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I think it's great. I know a lot of friends and people who have
We have a
gone
lot
there.
of friends in the USC Mafia.
We do. And I've met a lot of people who are great and they do great and it does help. They have a different network. Everybody has their own AFI people. They have their own network. I get it. They're their own mafias. It's helpful. But
It has all worked out.
it's all worked out. And it's kind of like we're not that far apart from what we're doing, all the people who went to the other schools. So I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, you can go to a state school.
Yeah, you can. I think that's something people have to, young people really need to, especially now, like who knows when how do you get jobs, right? It's so difficult to find jobs that can pay off all this student debt that everybody.
Well, when you come out with $100,000 in debt, I don't know how you ever get past it.
No.
Like you're paying that off the rest of your life.
Also, just the mental stress that comes with debt.
Yeah.
Like, just
the
think
burden.
about the burden that comes with it. Even if you're like, okay, it's just going to be paid off later. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, but then can you buy a house in LA? Can you, it's crazy.
I don't know. It is crazy. So, but I went to Cal State Northridge. It was a lot of fun, and I did a lot of producing and, all the things you do in film school, and they make you pick, cinematography. One thing they pride themselves in, which I think is very useful, is that they do tell you, like, you're not going to come out of here being a director or a writer.
That is helpful.
Because I think a lot of film schools do preach, like, if you want to write or produce or to be a creative producer or direct, here are the things you have to do. Great. That's great. You want to hear a little bit of what those teachers have to say, but they're like, you need to have a skill set that can get you a job that'll open a door. That's exactly how they phrased it.
Because how many people have you talked to who are fresh out of film school and they're like, well, I can direct. Like, why can't I get that job?
Well, they say that, but can they? I've talked to a lot of people who say that.
But they're never going to get hired for that job.
I know.
Like, it's cruel to
It
send
is
people
cruel.
out in the world like that.
It is very cruel.
I was like, you can be a clerk on this movie. You can be a PA.
Yeah, I know.
I know you're going to be great.
Yeah, and they are going to be great. That's
Yes.
the thing. It's just, you have to, the
have to hold
reality
time.
of it. Yeah, you do. And those jobs do something for you. They educate you in a different way about the film industry and TV or whatever it is that you're in, reality, wherever you go into.
Yeah.
Entertainment.
So did you specialize?
I did. Cinematography, which I loved. Which I had done a lot of, like, photography classes in high school and community college. And that's what I wanted to do for a long time. I did want to do photography and cinematography. Not photography, cinematography. I really liked it. And I DP'd people's projects above me, grades above me, which gave me a lot of contacts later for work. And I AC'd and second AC'd a bunch of people's projects just because I wanted to get behind the camera. And this is when we were doing things on film, because now everything's digital, or a lot of film schools still have now approved, like, going all digital with everything, because not a lot of people shoot on film.
Are they not even bothering?
I don't think they are at the state schools like Cal State LA and Cal State Northridge. I think USC allows for it, but I don't know to what. Like, I don't really know. I know that from when I left film school till now, it's like I just know that the program is mainly digital platform.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Okay, so
I started in camera.
So when you got out, did you pursue being a DP?
I was in camera department, yeah. I was still in school and working on music videos and commercials as a loading camera, loading film, and as a second AC, which was crazy because I was like Lifehouse music videos, Snoop Dogg. This was when music videos, people were spending just crazy amounts of money on film, all the money on music videos.
Did you just say Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. Just lots of bands all around Los Angeles, and I was still finishing school at the time, so it was like a dream to be working. Yeah. And that was because I did other people's projects who were grades above me, and they're like, they were out working as like PAs or coordinators, and they're like, someone needs something, like some person, do you want to come in? And I would say, yeah, because why not? So I'd work really long hours, and I can't remember his name. I think his name was John. I can't remember his last name. But on one of the music videos, John. I know, he was a camera operator on an HBO show at the time, but he was working side gig, like a music video. And before that moment, this all comes back to money right now, because before that moment, I don't know what they were paying me, but it didn't matter because I was working, and I was like, this is incredible that I'm even doing this, and not a lot of my friends were.
Yeah.
And I just remember him being like, what are they paying you? That's ridiculous. They should be paying. He was just like very, like, no way. They can't do that. That's nothing. That's shit. And I was working, that video probably was about like a 20-hour day. It was crazy.
With a 2-hour turnaround, sleep in your car.
It's like,
get paid $1.
Yeah, anyhow, so that sort of lit a little like, oh wait, I can get paid more to do this. Yeah. But I worked as a camera department for a long time, and that guy really sort of, I can't remember his name, but he sort of turned something on that was like, okay, I see, like this is a real deal. Like, you know, these are jobs where people are getting paid well and real money. And because then what he did was explain to me, this is what he did. And typically he did it for union, like a union gig, but this is what he was doing on the side because it paid more money. And I thought, okay, well then I'm getting the short end of the stick here.
Yeah.
And
what a gift he gave you.
Yeah, he did. And also I had lost a light. I was using a light for the camera, and he was so hard on the guy that was producing, like, you have to replace her light. It's part of her kit. I was like, kit? What?
What's that?
And I had like a ditty bag, a belt, I had all my kit, but I just didn't.
Were you charging for your kit?
No, because at that time,
you didn't know.
I was like fresh out of college. And I had been working already in this, and I had been using my kit for a long time. Yeah. Thanks.
Right,
that was a learning. That was a point where I thought, oh, there's more to this than what I know.
Yeah.
It's not just loading film in the little tent and, slapping the sticks.
Yeah, no one can see that gesture.
I'm putting my hand in the air as if I have a slate going.
Yeah, you're doing the slate. She's doing the slate, people. She's doing the slate.
Yeah.
And so then you thought, okay, this is a real business with real money. Let me get serious about
what's Isn't that crazy? It took me forever to realize that. But I just was having fun.
You were still in school.
Yeah. I might have been right out of school. But still, I was in school at the time where I didn't know, and then I met this guy, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I never saw him. I think maybe we worked again together where he was first AC, and I was the second AC maybe on one other music video. And then since then, I always look for his name on HBO, because I'm like, oh, maybe he's a DP now. Who knows? Yeah. He was a real rough fella.
A good guy, though, sounds
but like a nice guy, yeah. Totally nice guy, yeah.
Okay, so why did you not stay in camera?
I don't know. I mean, I really liked it. It was hard, heavy lifting work. That had nothing to do with it. That's what I liked about it, actually. I rarely like to stay seated for a long time. And I don't know, I'm not sure why I didn't, but a friend of mine was working on a independent film that was like micro budget, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and said, do you want to come on board and maybe help? And I said, how? Like coordinating, producing. I did a lot of producing in college too, and it wasn't just DPing that I did. I produced a lot of projects, so I could do that, and I liked that actually. And I said, yeah. So I came, just did it, and then started to do that, like coordinate. And at the time, I didn't know what I knew that it was producing, but I didn't know what it was, like line producing or production supervising, or I was just doing those jobs thinking
I'm just making it happen.
Yeah, I'm just making it happen. And I thought, well, I really like this. Like, I just really liked it. It just made sense to me, having sort of the A-type personality, really, because I did, like being organized and getting logistics, like getting people places and putting a schedule together, but still being involved on the creative side of things. I thought, I really like this. And that's, what I wanted to pursue, except that I still kept doing camera work. I actually ended up camera operating for reality shows, which paid really well at the time. Friends of mine were working as production coordinators and production supervisors already on reality because no one wanted to work reality at that time. And it was looked at like not the real deal.
Right.
But a lot of my friends coming out of film
That's
school.
just what we do while the writers are on strike.
Yeah. And I have a lot of friends who work in reality now who are like lead editors, tons of money, and are happy, and they're,
It's a whole career.
It's the real deal now. And I just kept doing small little projects as like a coordinator or supervising or producing title, with just really doing everything that had to do, like anything that had to do with logistics on the project or schedules or budgets. And those typically didn't pay much, or it was like deferred payments, or they paid very little. So I did camera operating work as side gigs, and I just said yes to everything.
Yeah.
I said yes to everything. I said yes to absolutely everything. Then a friend of mine was working as I don't know what he was doing. I think he was like an assistant to the editorial department on one of the Narnias. And he said,
That's a big job.
Yeah, it's in post-production. We're looking for someone to either come in and help coordinate, we just need people. They're throwing people at the problem. And do you want to come in and work? And I was like, I don't know. It was a lull, like I wasn't doing any camera work and I wasn't doing any sort of production coordinating.
You were available.
I was available. And I was actually doing a play at the time, they did a lot of theater. So a friend of mine was doing a play.
Well, were you producing theater, or were
No,
you
I was
theater?
in it.
Were you acting?
Yeah, I was acting in it. I know. It was really silly, but
Fun.
It was a lot of fun. And if I could do it again, I would do a play again. If I had the time, if I could make time happen for me. And I was like, I don't know, do I really want to do post? And I was like, what's this Narnia movie? Never having read the books. Went to an awful public school, like no one really cared about reading. Did a lot of partying in high school. And
that's not going to amount to anything.
Yeah, and then I thought, all right, I'll do it. So then I did it. I went in and I was, helping post coordinate and worked on the project for, I don't know, they were already in post-production, so I can't remember, maybe 6 months what it felt like.
Yeah, I got to imagine that was a big post.
Yeah, it went
endeavor.
over. Yeah, it went over. I think it was right under a year. It started January, so it was I think originally it was supposed to be 40 weeks or something. It ended up
Just for post?
Yeah, all the visual effects.
Yeah.
It was
so
the first one.
did that get you into big feature films?
Yes. So then that is what got me into big feature films. And I was so hesitant about saying yes because I got this camera thing going and I'm still fresh out of school, and why not just keep pursuing the camera stuff, and then, or these other projects that people were hiring me to do, like coordinating and production supervising on. And I thought, all right, I'll say yes. So I said yes, and that actually got me into feature films. And I met all the Walden folks on that movie, who then, now I'm good friends with all of them. And they said they were picking up a coordinator, and so...
In-house?
In-house. Because that company was growing, right?
Yeah.
They were doing they had that movie, and they knew that was going to do really well, and it did do very, very well. And they had lots of features in production and in post, and they were prepping stuff, and they said, do I want to come in and help out? And mainly in post. I did a post. They had a music person in-house, so I was helping in post and music, and then got into the physical production of it all. I think it was interesting because there was it was the head of the department, and when I came on, he was bringing everybody on. Mylan had just come on months before me, and then there was all these young coordinators that come in, and I think that all the coordinators now, I think when people refer to coordinators when they're in-house, they're assistants, and at the time that wasn't the case. They're just here's a computer, and we'll pay for your phone, and you're gonna
sort it out.
You're gonna sort it out, and that's what it was. It was crash and burn.
You're in.
But it was great. So
who was Mylan's boss at that time?
Doug Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Doug. Yeah. I feel really lucky that I have friendships with Mylan, with Doug, and I was there for a long time, and I grew there, in the in-house world.
Yeah, so by the time you left, what was your position?
I was a manager there.
Of physical production?
Of physical production, yeah. I was a manager there in physical production. And the company had a couple of different downsizing phases. And at the very end, a year before I left, they decided that they wanted to be more of a financier and do gap financing and less production, basically. Less being the lead on projects. So it was Mylan and I, that's it. And there was not much to do.
Okay, so then that slowed down.
Yeah, that slowed down. And I just started to look. I started to look as soon as there was big layoffs that happened and took a couple months. And that was Doug was part of the layoffs and everybody except for Mylan and I. And I think they kept Mylan and I because they were still thinking about financing some films and they needed people to look at the projects, assess whether or not they're viable projects. And I was handling a lot of post-production because I've always done, what's been nice about getting into post is that I've always done post, prep through post, always handled projects from beginning to end. And then I just started to look because there wasn't much to do. It was already slowing down before it all happened. And that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I think it drives anybody crazy. I think the lack of not having anything to do just slows you down, man.
And then you can't do anything.
And then you can't do anything. You used to get 250 emails and answer them in a couple hours, and now you get 5, and you're like,
I'll save 3 for tomorrow.
Isn't that crazy how that works?
It is weird.
It is weird. Really, you lose motivation. And then you sort of forget, and then you're not flexing that muscle of, work and process and the contacts, and it was not,
It's not good for you.
It's not good. No, it's not good. So I started looking and, Mylan and I were really open about it. And he actually put me up. He's now put me up for 2 jobs that I've gotten. He actually put me up for the job at Alcon. And
was that your next job then?
Yeah, that was my next job. So I came in on the tail end of Point Break, which was interesting. Now, it was just a really big film.
All over the world.
All over the world. I think 12 locations total. Pretty sure it's 12, including some reshoots. And they were wrapping out, and it was a bit of a mess. But, as these films can go, it's just a very large film all over the world. It's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of production service companies that were being used, and there was lots of things to wrap up. Yeah. And it took a very long time to do that and to really wrap my mind about because when you're part of a movie like that, from the beginning, you're in it. You're immersed. You're like in the world. As you go. You're in it as you're making it. You know who all the players are, and when you come from the outside to a movie like that, you really have to wrap your head around what is happening.
It's like figuring out a puzzle.
Yeah, it is figuring out a puzzle. And that had 5 additional photography. Some reshoots, but additional photography. I think it was 5 total. Could have been 6.
It's like making a whole nother movie.
Yeah, it was making a whole nother movie. It was, in fact, making a whole nother movie. Yeah. Or the same one with different pieces of the same one. But it was great. It was a great experience for me because I was deeply involved in all the reshoots, and I did flex the post muscle a lot because there wasn't anybody really in post. They do a little bit of everything there too because they're a small shop, so production and post. And
what a great opportunity.
It was a great opportunity. It was really a great opportunity to just be involved in some big films because that wasn't the only one. There's a lot of other big films, but that one was intense. It went over by hundreds of VFX shots, which weren't planned for because there was so much action. There was so many special effects, so much wire removals, making waves bigger, surfing. It was an action-packed film, and all of the reshoots were just as action-packed. So there's a lot of moving parts to that. And then post-production was extended, and there's lots of changes that were being done, and the ADR sessions, someone had to be at all the ADR sessions, and that was me. So there were some sessions where, one of the reasons there was so much ADR, this was kind of interesting to me because I hadn't been involved in something that had so much action, is that there were the elements that were around were windy and people jumping out of planes and just crazy stuff was happening. So much ADR had to be done almost got almost an entire script because they were just in really remote places where, you know, you don't know if it's going to be cloudy or thunder or raining or... So that was really interesting. It was like hours and hours of ADR. And then, you know, Point Break was happening when we were budgeting a couple of movies, but one that actually went was Bastards, which is now called Father Figures, which is like a really mid-range film shot in Atlanta. No problems, really.
Was that one like a vacation?
It felt like a vacation. Yeah, it was just super easy, but at the same time,
a walk and talk in America.
Yeah, just like really easy breezy. You know, everybody was really nice. The line producer was great. Everything was like on target, on budget. And then it did have some additional photography. It had two actually. Two days of, a day of reshoots and additional photography. 2 different times too, like months apart. And that, it was really breezy, and it just, it kind of went like, it was like the, you know, stepchild that nobody, like just sitting there. No one really paid attention to it. And because Point Break was still happening, it was still in post-production, and the whole process, you know, of that movie, I think, took the guys' energy, the 2 heads of the company. But made that movie, and then we started getting into Blade Runner. There's a couple other movies, you know, they do at Alcon, they also do negative pickups, so they picked up a couple of other films, which there was not much to do on those except take delivery of them, make sure sort of post-production was on schedule, they weren't going crazy off schedule during the production days or the post-production schedule. So... but then we started getting to Blade Runner, which took up, I mean, I was there for a little over 3 years, so it took at least close to 2 years from, you know, very early R&D stages into deciding they were going to go and greenlight it and budgeting, and it was a huge movie, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that was exciting.
So after all that, you must feel like you can do anything.
Well, I do like that I've worked on really big and fairly small features. So
and complicated.
And complicated. Yeah, it is. You know, I just never, it's really hard for me to own that, like, hey, I worked on really complicated movies with a lot of moving pieces, and I was involved in like really complicated post-production and visual effects, and I just, you know, it's recently that I start to think like, oh no, Liz, like that's like a selling point, because I'm looking for a job, you know, I was looking for a job.
That's serious skills that not everybody has.
I know. It's funny. It's just I feel like I downplay that. I don't ever say like, but I have to put it in the forefront, you know. I really have to look at it, like look at all these things. Because even at Walden, we made films that were upwards of $200 million, which money, the number isn't the big deal. It's the parts that go into making those movies that are really what's interesting, and you learn a lot, and the technology behind it. I mean, there's a lot. It's a lot of moving parts. Yeah. So they are really big, complicated films, and I love them. I love it. I do love it. I really do. I do like it.
Okay, so then recently, at the beginning of the year, was it the beginning of this year, Alcon downsized bigly?
Yeah, they did. They downsized. They had, I mean, Blade Runner did well. I think people are like, oh, it didn't do too well. That's too bad. It made hundreds of millions of dollars. It just didn't, it also cost a lot, so it didn't recoup what it was. It
wasn't a big margin.
Yeah, exactly. And that's for that type company, they're very, you know, they're an independent. It's the major independents, and they're all, you know,
they're all out on the edge.
They're all out on the edge, man. They're right there, and then they keep going. And I made the sign of going down. And it's unfortunate, but that's the changing landscape, I think, right? I don't think there is a lot of room for mid-range films in these. I mean,
no, because you're competing with tentpoles.
Oh my God,
which cost so much, so you got to make the money.
Yeah. But they ended up. We knew it was coming. I mean, the writing was kind of on the wall. We were budgeting a few films in late fall after Blade Runner had come out, had been released, and they just said, "Why don't you just stop?" Stop budgeting.
That's a hint.
Like, okay, well, what do we do?
Don't budget, whatever you think.
We cleaned up, as they say. When you work in a house, it's like you just, like, there's things, right? You clean up whatever's remaining.
Do the final books.
Yeah.
Close old companies.
Yeah.
Do some tax returns.
Yeah, close old companies, do the books, you know, redo your production policies and procedures, all those things you don't.
Sell the sets that are in storage.
Yeah, what are we doing with those assets? Let's just sell everything. Yeah.
Little hints.
Yeah, it was nice because, well, but back to, I mean, it was nice because there's not a lot to do, but then you're back to this place again that I hate to be in, which is,
I can't do anything.
I was like, I can't do anything because the little things that I have, I kind of have to stretch them out to do.
I'm going to stretch out this one phone call till maybe Friday.
Yeah. I don't need to make it today. Yeah. There was a lot of that. But there was also like camaraderie in it because Shirley was there and Peter, who was in production, who's VP of Production Finance. He's amazing. I really like him. And we were just like, what are we doing here? What's going on? We knew something was in the works. We just didn't know what. The company basically needed to re-up its financing deal, and they have a billionaire, all the companies that I've worked at have a billionaire owner behind them, like straight
up billionaire.
Yeah, so Phil Anschutz owns Walden Media, and he owns
Among
Anschutz
other
Film
things.
Group. Oh, yeah, the Staples Center, the Kings. He was a big taker in MLS, like... lots of stadiums, and I think he started in communications and railroads. I mean, just billions. And then Fred Smith owns Alcon, who's FedEx. And then Sidney Kimmel, which is the next one I'm going to.
Okay, so now you're going to Sidney Kimmel.
So
can we announce that? By the time this comes out, you'll either be firmly in the job or have decided
or not, and that's fine. Both ways is fine, right?
But today, you're going to Sidney Kimmel.
today. So
As head of physical production?
Yeah, I don't know what the title is, but I mean, technically I am. There is nobody else, so this is me. I'm the end all for...
You made it to the top of the pile.
I made it to the top of the pile.
Good job.
Which will be, I got to put on my big girl work pants.
Yeah, girl work pants.
Yeah.
Big girl pantsuit.
Yeah, I got to put on my real... I mean, I always have them. They're always there. Now I really have to flex the muscle, which is... I don't know. The old fear of failure comes to mind every once in a while. Like, well, what if I can't do it?
Yeah.
What if I can't do it?
And it'll keep you sharp.
I know, and that's what I want. I mean, that's what I want. I want something that's going to keep me sharp.
Yeah. How do you think about leadership in that kind of corporate environment? Because you're kind of the boss of a lot of people when you're in that position.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's something I've definitely been thinking more about now because. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it yet since it's new. No, I think it's important. I think that, I definitely have looked at leadership when there's been other leaders of my ship. When I have other people that I report to, and I just think oh, that's interesting.
Does that work?
Does that work? Does that work? Yeah. I'm just big on communication. I just talk a lot, I like to be very open about everything, and I would imagine that will help me in leadership positions, and I like to be very frank, and I don't like to beat around the bush, and I like to be very honest about everything, and I hope that somehow helps me, and now that I'm taking a bit more of a leadership role, and I would hope that the people I'm working with or reporting to, which is the CEO and the CFO of the company, can do the same, or can at least,
meet you halfway.
Accept that I'm that way, and that's how I'll present things to them, and I think we'll see how that goes. I guess
you'll have to report back.
I will, yeah, because it's a little bit different for me. So
now, have you throughout your career thought at all about being a woman, having to adjust how you communicate or how you talk to people, or kind of because you've worked with a lot of men? Have you had to adjust how you interact?
100%.
What'd that look like?
Yes. And it's something that now, given the place that we meaning women are all in, and everybody who's had sort of a background voice, it's just bothers me so much that I have things that have been said to me, things that I've said, things that I've been okay with.
Oh,
it
now
bothers
in retrospect,
me.
In
retrospect, yeah. It didn't. It's just like, why did I do that? Why was I okay with that? And I know why, and it's not. I don't sit here and I'm saying it to you now. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't sit here and think about it late at night. No, I think okay, that's done. We're done. We're moving on with that. But yeah, no, there's been. I could tell you some of the things.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So one of the things that someone told me, someone I'm very close to, and I actually think that he is. I think that they mean it in a complimentary type way. But one of the things that was said to me was like, oh, this is when I was working with a lot of dudes over at Walden. And there's also women there, but it's fine. I like them all. We're all friends still. It's like, oh, I think you're really good at what you do, because you can really feel, you make you make the guys feel more comfortable. And I was like, oh, really? Why? Like, oh, because you're like the right type of, the right type of like aggressive and flirty, and you can really adjust yourself to the room and who you need to, when you're talking to the guys, is what was said to me. And I thought, all right. And I didn't even engage in the conversation, right? I was like, okay, whatever. I guess, who knows? And then I started to think, I thought about it then, but I just was busy and didn't, I don't know, it was that well.
It didn't hit you immediately.
It didn't hit me. And I was like, I don't care, whatever, as long as I can
You're like, great, I get along with people.
Yeah, I get along with people, this is fine. And then the last couple of years of thinking about it, I'm like, that is an awful thing. Why, first of all, why do we have to do that? Why is it that why did I feel that I needed to do that if that was what I was doing? Why was, and what?
Would they ever have said that to a man?
Never. And there's so many things in that scenario, which
you can unpack that for
forever.
Yeah.
Which is, you think that's a positive thing that I do that?
Yeah.
And then me just being like, I guess, like, why am I doing that? Why am I making any adjustments for anybody? Like, no.
Yeah.
Anyway,
how can I pretzel myself up?
Yeah, and I think what bothers me more about it when I think about it is that, when I think about it now, I should say, is that I was okay with that comment at that time. Mm-hmm. And I went with it. And I was like, I guess that's good, but,
Because it meant you could be effective.
Yeah.
At what cost? You don't think about it till later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And, when I worked in camera department,
I'm sure there's some stories there.
People it was all men.
Yeah.
I literally did not work. I think I had a one woman, or like a two camera crew, like an A and B camera. Mm-hmm. And one of the first ACs, I think she was she was the first AC. She was a woman. But that, in a few years of working, one, I encountered one. I feel like that's changed a little bit. Like I know more ACs and second ACs and, women who are behind the camera, but not that much.
And then how did they talk to you when you were in that department?
Oh, whatever on-set shorthand. I was slapped in the ass once, yeah. And look, it wasn't even like it was sexual, because it is a sexual thing. But it was like it just can't, it was played off like it was like a sport thing, like hey, I thought, this is not right.
It's a sport
and
thing.
I didn't say anything. Well, I said like, okay, no. And that was it. And it had no big conversation. Who was I going to tell? I was like a second AC, that's how I looked at it.
Right.
Like, who am I going to say this to?
All right, well, now that Me Too has happened, how do you think you'll respond differently?
Oh my God.
If that kind of thing happens to you again.
I would definitely
and
say
now
something.
that you're the boss.
Yeah, I would definitely say something. And that's a different type of pressure, actually, is that somebody will end up, if someone reports to me, or if someone, makes a complaint, or not about me per se, but about something that's happening on set, or something that's happening that's,
You have to handle it now.
Yeah, I know.
And set the culture.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I would definitely, not handle it like I did before. Yeah, just, figure it out, I think. Talk it out. It's not acceptable, in short. It's just not acceptable. It's just not. It can't be. And it never was, too. It never was. It just happened. It just happens, and I didn't say anything. And part of it is because, like coming up in the film industry, it's the culture. It's like it's awful to say, but we all fed into it, like letting things go.
And it could be job ending.
And it can be job ending. And that's the ultimate fear, right? Is that I won't get a job doing what I like to do or what I love to do, because I speak up. And the most recent, this is the other thing that stands out, because it was pretty recent that this happened, maybe like 3 years ago. We're on a big budget, a big like come to Jesus budget. The Bond company was there. Mm-hmm. All the players are in the room.
That'd be serious.
We got people in another country on a Skype. How are we gonna follow this plan? How are you gonna stick to the budget? How are you gonna stick to the schedule? How are you gonna get this, special effects done? Like what stunts are you doing? And one of the heads of the company called me sweetheart or honey? Sweetheart or honey? Not in a whatever kind of way, but not in a, how can I say it? It was kind of like, I think it was honey. Yeah, it was definitely honey. Sorry, I had to go back to that moment. honey, you really have to, we have to get that done. That's exactly what was said to me. In a room with, like heads of the company, the COO, the director, the line producer, all people that I have to talk to.
Were they all men?
No, there's women and men in the room. And yeah, I know.
Called you honey?
Yeah, I know. And then I came out of that and I was like, oh my God, did this really just happen?
Did you give him any feedback?
No, unfortunately I didn't. But I talked to everybody else I was working with, like, I can't believe that he just called you honey. I was like, oh no. And this does not make it any better at all, but
was
it
in
does.
an English accent at least?
No, that would have been great though, right?
Like, was it a cultural thing?
No, but he does say honey to a lot of people. And now he's stopped. Like, I don't think he's doing it anymore, though I don't know. But I just stopped hearing him say that. So I think someone in the last year probably has said, like, you really have to stop that, knock it off. It just felt really belittling and condescending and kind of like and for a long time I think I struggled with this, is that I tend to be younger in the group always, and people did, like, look, honey, let
me explain.
And that's how it came off. And I just thought, like, oh my God, is this the battle I want to fight? And we were really busy and we were really heavy into prep.
Is this the battle I want to fight?
Is this the battle I want to fight? Because I knew he had called other people honey, and it wasn't in a, hey, honey. It was like, look, honey. Like, they're all the younger, the people under him were honeys. And I just didn't know that was the battle I wanted to fight at that time. Yeah. I just didn't feel like, oh, is this what I want to...
In the big scheme of things, it seems like so small, like, who cares?
It does. It does.
But it is so diminishing.
It is very, and it
in
really...
the eyes of all the people in the room.
That was my problem with it. He wants to call me, like, look, honey. I don't know, but in that room with everybody, I mean, like, top-notch director, it just felt...
He just showed everybody how to treat you.
Exactly, and that's what it felt like. It took me, and the fact that I still think about it shows you how much it bothered me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
now I'm gonna think about it for 3 years.
Yeah, look at me, I'm the kid. I'm just the kid that but I'm just the honey. But whatever. Like, I had to get pushed through it, and to me, it was like, okay, I'm not gonna fight. That's not the battle I'm going for.
Yeah, you're just gonna do your job.
Yeah. And there's other times where I'm like, no, I don't, I tend to be pretty open, and like, I think if you spoke with people that I work with, I'm not usually someone that like just takes it, And so when these things that I've described happen, they sit with me because it's a time where I'm like, okay, what am I going to say to that? What am I going to do? Do I say something? Do I make it known? Is that the battle I'm going? And that one.
Is that the hill you're going to die on?
Yeah. And it didn't feel like that was the one. And I was pretty new at the company, so I just felt like, all right.
You're like,
other people
I'll take that in.
Were like, that is the worst thing he could have ever said to you. I just don't understand why he did that. And the acknowledgement that other people heard it and saw what it was made me feel slightly better, because I felt like...
It is helpful.
It really is.
But then
I thought if I wanted to say something...
Why didn't 7 people in the room say something?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, that's the power imbalance.
Yeah.
When you have so many people and no one feels empowered to say as a group.
I mean, it shows you about that company and that group.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one really had to say or...
But I think that's pretty typical. I'd say that happens more often than not.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. It's awful.
Okay, in the generic, what do you make of this moment we're in as women?
In the generic?
Or in the grand scheme of things. Generic's probably not the right word.
No, it's good. It's, I would call it, I mean, it's empowering for me as like, a woman in the film industry where where I feel a lot of it sort of revealed itself. It started to just come apart, and that's how it all started. I think it's a really transitional time, I think, for all of it too, which will be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years, because I think it's just like scratching at the surface. We're just getting into making some real changes, but it feels good. It feels so good.
It does feel so good.
It feels so good.
To us, anyway. I did read an article last night where someone did a survey, and a lot of men in companies are saying, well, now I'm no longer having one-on-one meetings with women. I'm not going on walking meetings. I'm not traveling with them. Like, shutting women out because they're so afraid.
Okay, dude, well, what do you have on your conscience? I mean,
right. Why can't you
I know plenty of men who would be like, come on in, because they have nothing to worry. I mean, there's no worry there. It's,
Yeah, the suggestion is that women are just going to make stuff up and ruin your career.
Yeah, those men are idiots. The people who are saying that, I feel like, are people who, I mean, it just shows who they are. If men are making comments like that, It just shows who you are. If you're concerned about it, then there's an issue with that you're even concerned. Not that you're going to act on those things, but that it's in your realm of concerns. It doesn't matter.
It makes you look bad, dude.
It makes you look bad. Yeah, I think that, well, the other thing to look at too, which is a conversation I've had a couple of times, with family members and colleagues, and something I've talked about, which is for us, myself included, it feels good. There's a lot of change. You feel it sort of happening. It's percolating. People are like taking action about certain things that they're passionate about, but I'm not sure it's that way for all women. I feel like I come from and I think that in the grand schemes, it's going to help everybody, but I think it's, I have a lot of cousins who work in, I don't know, you name a different industry that isn't the film industry, and that it's a lot tougher for them to speak up, and it's a lot tougher for them to say something if someone is, mistreating them or saying something that you shouldn't be saying to them.
And we know it's happening in every industry.
Yeah, it is happening in every industry, and I think from my seat, it's a little different, because I feel like I have a lot of friends and people who are on board with just change happening. But it feels good. It does feel very empowering. And being part of the group is like, oh man, look at all these women.
The Women's Production Society?
Yeah, Women's Productions. The group.
Yeah, they're incredible.
The ladies, the group. Yeah, it does feel good. And it feels like it's a transition period. And I'm really interested in being part of what's next and seeing what's next too.
And seeing what it looks like when we get there.
Yeah, 50-50.
Yeah.
What
By
does that look
2020.
like? Yeah.
All right, now before we turn this on, you and I were talking about money a little bit and how people don't talk about it and how they should.
No, they should.
And you grew up with your family talking about money and being really open.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Different, I guess, now that I talk to other people, because to me, it was my family. And that's just what the culture of our family was, that we were very open about money. We didn't have a lot of money, so.
You talked about like how much people made and what things cost.
Yeah, like we knew exactly what my dad was making, how much he was making, when his hourly wage went up. My uncles, his brothers all did similar jobs as him in construction, and talked about how much they made and what they did with their money and how much the house cost. Like things that I think normally you don't. As kids, I mean, I don't know. I just don't hear that a lot, that other people's parents did that.
I don't think they normally do.
Yeah, and we just did. We just talked about money a lot. And I don't know that it was super helpful for me at times, because my parents did struggle a lot with money, and they opened a couple businesses that went under, and but it was a conversation that was very common in the household. We talked about money. And when my siblings are all, the closest sibling age to me is 7 years, so they're all quite a bit, like 11 and 9 and 7 years older than me. And so they all had, I was young, and my sister had a job at Del Taco. So we talked about money, how much she made, what she brought in. We just did. And for a very long time, we all talked about money. And we would ask my brother, I'd talk to my brother on the phone, and he'd say, like, what's that job paying you? Like, what does that mean? How much are you making? I'd be like, oh, I don't know, $1,500 a week. Oh, all right. Well, I make that much. I don't even have one of my brothers didn't go to college. And he, just to like make fun. We all get along really well, so it's never really that. But just, we just did.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, we just stopped. We stopped. No one really, my oldest brother got married, and his wife and him, they're both special education teachers, and they don't really talk. My sister-in-law talks more about, she's really good with money. So she talks about money. She talks about it. They have a couple of houses they invest. So she talks a little bit more about money. My brother doesn't. I don't think he's ever said how much he makes.
Like, do you think it all got a little bit unequal and then people stopped talking about it?
Maybe that's what happened. Yeah, I think things started to get a little unequal. I was kind of young, so I wasn't making that much money. And then my older siblings were probably making more money, and I think my sister's always been really good with money, but she doesn't make a ton. I mean, she's a social worker. She's sort of
she's
great.
Good with money.
Yeah, she has to be good with money. And my brother-in-law has made good money, and he's in finance. And now he was in finance. Now he's working from home, but He has his own consulting company, and he makes good money, but he wasn't in our family, so he wasn't really talking about money. So everybody just kind of stopped. I think we all started to make money, and it was probably like this, like all over the place.
Yeah, and then it got weird.
And then it just got weird. And then so just recently, I talk to my sister every other day, and I'm looking for a job, so she's asking me, like, how much is it paying? And then the last year, she said, oh, so how much are you getting paid? My point is, we just started to talk about money again. And then I tell her, and then I'm like, oh my God, Angie, you have to get paid more for what you do. I can't believe I make, like, more than you. And just her job is crazy, She's a social worker, and she's good at what she does. Except they don't get paid very well
Right, and her work is so important for humanity.
I know.
And not that yours isn't, but not in the same sort of hands-on way.
Look, no.
How did that translate to then when you got out working and like negotiating for your money or managing money? Do you think that set you up well to be in the workforce dealing with that kind of thing?
I don't know that it did. I'm not sure. No, because I quickly noticed that other people were not so comfortable with talking about money. So I'm not sure that it did. You think it would have, that I would have been very frank about, well, that's not enough money, or that is enough money, or negotiating, and it just, I don't feel that it did. It just didn't, I'm not sure that it did.
Well, you were also adapting to the room.
I was also, that's what I did for a long time. Yeah, I'm not sure that it did, unfortunately. I think it should have in some way, and it just didn't come out that way. And I'm not quite sure why, actually. Can't, maybe because we started talking about it pretty, like, early on in my career. We stopped talking about it. But my dad, up until, like, the day he passed away, he would always be like, well, what's that job going to pay you? Well, how much is that? That's not enough. He would always ask me, because I think a lot of it came from him and my mom. But they just always wanted to know. And so, I don't know. I think we have to talk about it. I started talking about it more with my sister. Like, no, people have to know. And it's just such a different industry. So with her, the conversation is a little different than talking about it with, old colleagues of mine or people that are doing the same work that I'm doing.
Yeah, someone that has a similar job.
Yeah,
so because I think what you should ask for.
Yeah, because that's what it comes down to is that, right?
What will the market bear, and how do you know if you don't know what the market is?
No, exactly. And that's been tough to get that information from people. It's been really tough. And just the way everybody skirts around the questions and how you ask. And, I have I have two friends, they're both guys, and they are about similar level as me. And one would not really share. Like, he would give me a range. Okay, well, I make more than that. I'm like, okay, that's helpful. And then in a similar situation as me, going into this next job. So he's like the only man on the ship that does physical production. And then my other friend's like, he's very open about what he makes for himself too, because he wants to know what other people are making, because he's also negotiating and trying to make more money and trying to be paid fairly for what he does. And so he and I have a very open, that's great, because he's a man, I'm a woman, and we very openly share.
And you want to know what that gap is, too, to make sure that you're being paid fairly.
And there is a gap.
Oh, I'm sure there is a gap.
Mm-hmm. There is a gap.
Are you going to make an effort to close that gap?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I would make a huge effort to close that gap.
Good.
Yeah.
I think half the battle is even knowing it's there.
Yeah, that really
half the time we don't know.
Nope. No, there's so many people, so many women who say that. Like, well, I didn't know. I didn't know. Like,
it was a bump up for me. I didn't know that I started at half at what that guy started at.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we really have to value what we bring to the table as women, not just the skill set you're bringing in the actual job, whatever the job is, this being physical production, but just the way women negotiate, the way women look at things, the way we analyze a project, the way you look at schedules. I think it's different. I think it's good.
It is, but I think things like being called honey in a meeting.
No, it's unacceptable.
But it also, I think, chips away at that.
Yeah.
Because then I think then it's a lot harder to be super confident about everything that you're doing.
Yep.
If someone's calling you honey.
Yeah, it's been 3 years and here I am. No, a little less than 3 years.
And we're still bothered by it.
And I'm still bothered by it. Yeah. No, it really says something. It really does. And those things really take a toll. And they have taken a toll, I think, on everybody. I mean, I speak for myself. But.
Systemically and culturally and generationally, it's taken a toll.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reckoning right now is seeing all of those things and unpacking it and realizing what effect that has had over generations.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's not just a quick fix.
No, I listen to so many podcasts that are all about women, the workplace, and money. I'm just in a real kick to like, unpacking it is where I'm at. And I don't know where, I think that's part of the leadership question you asked me and how I see, like how I feel about it all changing and what it looks like. And I don't know, it's being unpacked right now. And even for me personally and just the profession we're all in the industry and everywhere else. And
because we have a lot of inner work to do, the system has a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Men have a lot of work to do, and I don't know how much they've even started that work or what kind of leadership there is in that realm.
Yeah.
And then we have to figure out how to do the work together,
Yeah.
which I don't think we've even started.
No, not at all. No. So it's a lot of digging deep in all those areas, man.
And doing our jobs.
And then still functioning as like an executive by day and a mom in the evenings and just the shift of that. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
Let's talk about that because you have a little baby.
I do. His name is Nicholas. He's going to be 3 in July. So that was actually, a huge, like anyway, I mean, you have kids, but it's just like
that first year having a baby in your big job. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, I was at Alcon and I left 8 months into the job for maternity leave.
I did that once. That's awkward.
Yeah, I know. And then it was really busy and it was probably not the best timing, but everybody was very supportive. Dana was there at the time. And this is awful to say, but this is another thing we deal with, I think, as women is there's a real, was scared. I was scared to say like, oh, I'm like, a few months pregnant, I'm going to have to go on maternity leave. And having to share that when she's only been there for a couple months and I've only been there for a few more months than her. And
you're about to inconvenience everybody.
I was. And then I told her and she was like, congratulations, that's great.
That's the right response.
Yeah, that's great.
How long did you take off?
No, that's another thing.
Not enough time.
Oh, not enough time. No. Oh my God, it was a new job. So it's personal pressure I put on myself. I probably could have taken more time. Well, I wasn't getting that much pay, but financially, I still probably could have taken more time than I did, but I only took, probably like 11 weeks. It's awful. I know. And I hate saying it out loud, but it's a learning thing. So now when I talk to people, I'm like, think the time you want to take off. So if that's 12 weeks and add 2 months to that, like add 8 weeks to that and ask for that. Ask for 5 or 6 months, ask for 8 months and let them tell you, no, let's do 6 and then go there.
And then you got 6.
Yeah, and then you got 6 out of it.
Yeah, because the FMLA, you really don't even get 3 months if you haven't been in the company a year and if they have less than 50 people.
Yeah.
Like it really is stacked against you. You have to negotiate your own deal.
Yeah. And they were pretty easygoing at Alcon. Like I could have taken longer, I think, just, gotten disability and just, taken a pay cut, so to speak, not made money, but spend more time with my baby. But I felt sort of the pressure of having not been there that long and it was still pretty busy and it just didn't feel like the right thing to do at that time. Though now I think about it, I think like I should have taken more time. But I think what's helpful is like, okay, then I talked to my friends. A lot of my friends are all having babies now and take as much time as you can.
Take as much as you can. My first baby, I took 9 weeks because I showed up at my job pregnant and I didn't find out until like 2 weeks into my job.
Yeah. There you go.
So then I didn't get the FMLA. So 9 weeks I went back and it was brutal.
Oh.
I was falling.
Yeah.
It was a mess. My baby wasn't taking a bottle.
Oh no.
It was awful.
Yeah, it can be awful. It's such a big change for people in general. I mean, men and women, but women take a bit more of the hit on it,
Especially those early days.
Yeah.
And you haven't slept yet and you're still going back to work.
Yeah, it's a huge transition. It's a big change in life, and I think the expectation that you should just like get back into work is crazy. It is crazy. I was lucky. Nicholas was great. He was like a good baby and he slept well and I just pumped, which was like the sound of that machine gives me nightmares. Like, I would mute it. I'd be on conference
totally.
call.
Totally, I
mute,
do too.
And then I'd like turn off the machine real quick when I had to say something, unmute, talk for a while, mute it, turn on the machine.
And in the car on the freeway on the way home.
Yeah, whatever, man. Sometimes I'd rush home to just like nurse the baby. But yeah, it's just a lot of work. That's all. It's a lot of work that first year. And
does it feel like not only do you have to be back at work and be effective, but you also have to prove it? Like prove that didn't slow you down 1 second.
100%. 100%.
Which we do. I mean, you can tell a woman who's come back from maternity leave. Like super efficient, super on it, super proving it.
Yep. I could do everything.
It's hard.
It is really hard. And you know what? You can't. And that's okay. You don't have to do everything. No one has to be perfect. And that's really the mindset you have to have, because sometimes when you aim for that, when you aim to do everything,
it just makes you crazy.
It just makes you crazy. And yeah, no, it was very difficult to do all of it, but it got done, you know. It gets done. Somehow it all works itself. It gets done. And
then you hit your groove.
And then, yeah, you do. And as Nicholas has gotten older, it's gotten easier, but it still amazes me my personal brain capacity. Like I am at work, I'm functioning as like a work person, and then I pick up Nicholas, and then it's like you just. At the end of the day, I think like, oh man, I'd do anything just to go home and like lay on the couch and drink a glass of wine.
That's not
watch
happening
Netflix.
for another 10 years.
I know. And then I look at the clock, I'm like, oh, I have to go get Nick. And I love him. And then when I see him, the energy he gives me is different.
But it's second shift.
You got an early morning shift where you get up and you make lunches and breakfast.
Shift.
Yeah. It's only a couple hours that you go to work and you turn on your brain in a different way, and then you turn that off for a second if you're lucky enough that you're not like doing a bunch of other things. I try to, at least, not like look at my phone and answer emails.
But then once you put the baby to bed, don't you go back on your computer?
Yeah.
Finish your day?
Yeah, so there's your fourth shift.
We're working hard.
It is really hard. And sometimes it feels really good. Sometimes it really feels good.
I'm not gonna lie, you accomplish a lot.
Yeah, it feels really good to do all of those things and feel like, I think I did those pretty well today.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay, now tell me the advice you have for women just starting out in this business.
All right.
It better be good.
It better be good, huh? It's going to sound... I think you got to say yes. Like work-wise, you got to come from a place of, you got to say yes. You say yes to the jobs that you're a little like, maybe I'm not sure, because I think opportunity always comes out of the next gig. At least that's been my experience, is that, if you're a little unsure because it's not exactly what you want to do, especially for younger people, like young filmmakers.
Like when you're really just starting.
Yeah, I feel like
yes.
it's often like, oh, if I make that decision, I'm going to get stuck doing X, whatever X is.
You don't know that.
And I always say like, no, you're not. You do that job and then you leave.
Right. It's 3 months.
Yeah, it's 3 months. Or if you're going to be some assistant for somebody, like, so you don't like it, you leave in a year. It's not a deal breaker. So I just
it's not the rest of your life.
Say yes. I think in saying yes, a lot of opportunities will come your way. Yeah, and definitely speak up, because I think that's a big thing. Is that a lot of women don't. Two things. I think when you're younger and coming up, you feel like maybe you shouldn't, or you should, or it could hurt
you're unsure.
It could hurt your career. And I think, no, we got to change that. You got to change that. That has to be changed, and it has to start early, and you have to be very specific about things you want and things you need, and speak up. Don't let people sort of say things or do things that make you feel uncomfortable, and let them slide. Because I think that's what's gotten us to this place in this industry.
Got us into this pickle in the first place.
Yeah, for many, many, many reasons, not just that. But I think it's important to know that everybody has a voice, and you have to say something. Yeah.
That's pretty good advice. Best of luck on your next adventure, and
Thanks.
Let me know what it is, and then we'll update everybody as we publish.
Yeah, I will.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to The Other 50%, a herstory of Hollywood. I'm Julie Harris Walker. I'd like to thank Liz Gutierrez for sharing her story. And special thanks to Jay Rowe, Danny Rosner, and Allison McQuaid for the music. Please find us on your favorite podcast provider and leave a review. And of course, on our website, theother50%.com, all spelled out, for added features, bios of our guests, and the merch. You can also follow us on all the social media platforms. And also go subscribe to the Kiss My Age show. Thanks for listening. See you next time.